Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Thunder Alley here. Today we're going to be reacting to the big win over the Denver Broncos, 23-16. It had been a long time since the Chargers went into Denver and were able to pick up a win. This game proved a lot to me. This is exactly what I wanted to see. The passing offense was great, the rushing was great, the defense stepped up and made plays. Just an overall dominant game by the Chargers. I don't think the score exactly shows how this game went. I mean, 23-16, that's a one-score game. This came down to an onside, but the first half, 20 points, giving up 0, and then the second half, of course, was sort of a collapse, but that first half was dominant, and they did just enough to get out of there with a win. 3-2 on the season, coming off of 2 straight losses going into the bye week. This was honestly a must-win game. You definitely did not want to fall behind any farther. I mean, that would have put the Chargers into a spot where they hadn't won a game in a month, but this was without question the best game Herbert has played all year. 21 of 34, 237 yards with a touchdown, does not turn the ball over, did a good job of spreading it out as well. We saw Fayoko have a couple of catches, Lad McConkey, Vidal 2 for 40 and a touchdown through the year. Josh Palmer had a couple of catches, Disley 4 catches, Quentin Johnson had 3 catches, Dobbins had 2 catches. I mean, there's a bunch of different receivers and running backs that were catching the ball, and the Chargers did a good job of moving it down the field. In terms of the rushing attack, this was what we really wanted to see. It was a huge test because we saw the last 2 games against the Steelers, of course, and the Chiefs. The Chargers were not able to run the ball. They were very one-dimensional. But Jacob Dobbins, he gets 25 carries, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Of course, had that impressive touchdown where he was able to reach and just get it across in time. Dobbins was a huge pickup for the Chargers this offseason. Of course, came in on a 1-year contract. He's dealt with injuries his entire career. That's always been the thing that's held him back. But so far, through these first 5 games, he's been healthy and he's played like one of the best running backs in the game. I mean, he goes out there, he gives the Chargers over exactly actually 100 yards from the line of scrimmage and that touchdown, which is remarkably impressive. Dobbins had a great game. And then in terms of Vidal, I mean, we said in the last video that we wanted to see him get more touches because certainly there hasn't been much, if any, production outside of Dobbins. And it looks like the Chargers coaching staff thought the same, and they gave the rookie a chance, and he delivered. Ran a great route, had a good catch, of course, early on in this game. We also saw Darius Davis get a couple of carries. I know the Chargers like his speed. He's more of a special teams guy, but they do definitely want to get the ball into his hands because he can make a lot of plays. So great job from the rushing attack, 38 of 128 and that touchdown. And then the receivers just spreading it out. Herbert looked great. He had time to throw. He definitely looks a lot better. Of course, he was dealing with a high ankle sprain. You can tell that bye week was able to get him back on track. I mean, he looked like just a completely different player out there from that Chiefs game, man. And then in terms of the defense, I mean, this was the biggest takeaway from this game. And we knew Denver's offense coming in wasn't the best, but the Chargers showed exactly why their defense is legit and it needs to be talked about more. Bo Nix, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have that interception literally on the first drive of the game, but 19 of 33. Took 2 sacks. I mean, Nix was under a lot of pressure. I thought the secondary for the Chargers did a great job as well, not allowing receivers to get open, even when he was able to escape the pocket and make plays, which we know he does about as good as anyone, even though he's a rookie. I mean, that's why he was a first-round pick. He can extend plays and buy time, and the secondary was just absolutely sticky in this one. The rushing attack, just about how I thought it would go. I mean, 18 for 110, I guess is not how I thought it would go. That's incredibly high level efficiency. But 110 rushing yards overall, if you were to tell me that before the game, I would have taken it because the Broncos, they're just not a good throwing offense. They're terrible on third down. And if you can limit them to 110 rushing yards, you're going to be perfectly fine. And they were able to do that. We didn't really see too much through the air. I mean, there was a couple of big plays like Troy Franklin, a 29-yard catch. Veely had a 37-yard catch. Cortland Sutton had a couple of big plays. Bo Nix had the longest rush of the game for the Broncos. Javonte Williams, 6 for 23. I thought he was going to have a big-time game on the ground, but because Denver was down early on, I mean, we were looking at, they were down, again, at halftime, 20-0, so they just weren't able to exactly run the ball, and that just put the Chargers in a great spot. I mean, that's exactly a favorable matchup for them because of their pass rush, and it just, you don't want Mack and Boza, and of course I'm looking at Bud Dupree and Tuli Tubolot. Like, you just don't want these guys going at your offensive line on an obvious passing down, and that's what happened. And Denver made a miraculous comeback, but to me it doesn't matter that much that it happened because the Chargers won the game. Now certainly the win would, yeah, it would feel a little bit sweeter if they had just completely shut the Broncos out, but just getting the win is all you need to do. It doesn't matter how you do it. Just like the Chiefs, they barely beat the Chargers. I mean, literally that game came down to 7 points, one score. And then the same thing with the Steelers. I mean, that was what, 10-point game, but it was tied going into the fourth. It's just how you win it is what matters. Nobody's really going to remember that second half. Of course, getting outscored 16-3. Outside of that, though, I was just impressed with Herbert. I was impressed with the defense. I thought the receivers looked very good, like Lad McConkey, 4 for 43. I like what I saw out of Simi Fuoco as well, 2 for 44. I made a couple of plays. Seeing a tight end get involved is great too. Tight ends for the Chargers have been quiet this year, and Disley goes 4 for 26, which is good. And I want to say, I could have swore I saw Hayden Hurst leaving with an injury, man. I might be mistaken, but he definitely got banged up in this game. Hopefully he's going to be good to go. Defensively, of course, Louis Gilman has been great, guys. 10 total tackles, 6 solo, 1 sack. I mean, the safeties overall, like the secondary has been great. Guys have stepped up. There's been injuries. We know that, of course. Who made a great play in this game was Elijah Molden. I mean, he was picked up literally last minute, and he goes out there and what does he do, man? A big play after big play. He's been great this year. He's been one of the best, actually, players on this entire team, which has been a pleasant surprise for the Chargers. And hopefully, moving forward, they can continue to just play through him, because even though he originally wasn't supposed to be a starter, I mean, he's playing so well that he's more than likely going to keep that job. Derwin, good to see him back after missing, of course, the last game with a suspension. And then Mac, of course, had a good game. And you see Boza actually still banged up, dealing with that. I think it was a hip injury, so they're hoping to get him back and healthy, because we know he's one of the best players in the league when he's out there. But yeah, just a good overall job by the rush, especially without one of the best players in the game in Joey Bosa. I was impressed. Moving forward, we definitely know the blueprint for the Chargers. You want to play with a lead. I don't know if there's going to be even a team in football that's going to be able to hang with the Chargers as long as they can get ahead and play through their defense and their rush and be able to run the football, play action, set that up. And I just realized that I didn't see Joey Bosa in the stat sheet. I watched the condensed version, and you just miss a lot, right? I didn't check the injury report, and I wasn't looking for it to begin with, unless he didn't rack up a tackle, which is just impossible. So he wasn't even out there. So the fact you go on the road against a team that had won 3 straight games, a team that was the #1 ranked defense coming into the week, and then of course just they're red hot, and you go out there and you prevent them from going to 4-2, and you get of course over 500, 3-2, which is great. I think the Chargers, without question, would be 5-0 right now if they were healthy, even remotely close to healthy. Of course, they lose Herbert, they lose Bosa in that Steelers game, and they're missing a lot of players. Derwin got suspended against the Chiefs. So in terms of what's next for this team, let's go ahead and let's look at who they play. So back out of here, we'll go over to their schedule. So Arizona, the Cardinals are coming off of a blowout loss to the Packers today. They looked just absolutely terrible. Marvin had a concussion, had to come out. Kyler didn't look that great. Of course, the Cardinals haven't really played that high-level football. They did have a big win over the Niners, but outside of that, they did have a big win too over the Rams. Like, I guess it's kind of hit or miss. Hopefully the bad Cardinals comes out in that game. And then we're talking about at home against the New Orleans Saints, who are without Derek Carr, at Cleveland. They might be the worst team in the league. Titans, Bengals, this is not a very difficult schedule. So the Chargers have a chance to get hot, man, and honestly make a push at the playoffs. Maybe even the division. The Chiefs are 5-0, but there's still so much football left to where anything can really happen. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys. I'll see you in the next one, man. Peace.